My first drug experience was we found some weed in one of my friend's parents' stashes, and we had mixed it with a whole bunch of tobacco, and we sold the kid down the street like 4 joints with a little bit of weed stuck at the end and the beginning of the joint for like 25 bucks, and we just thought we were balling. And that was my first experience with drugs and stuff like that. So drugs weren't really a big deal with me in school and going through school. It was only until my, graduating year and after I graduated that I finally got into like drugs, right? And what happened was I met a friend and he could get this Mexican dirt weed. We bought a 1/4 pound of Mexican dirt weed for like 120 bucks. And on this $120 Mexican dirt weed, 80 bucks per ounce. So 320 bucks off 120 bucks, right? So you'd take 1 ounce, you'd bust it down into 420 bags and 80 bucks per ounce, 4 ounces, there you go, right? And so I sold my half of the 1/4 pound, but my buddy couldn't sell his. I took his half of the 1/4 pound and I sold that, right? But as I'm putting the weed up in my room, in my stash spot, my older brother Bernard comes in the room and says, "Hey, what are you doing?" And I'm like, "Nothing, I'm selling this weed." He was like, "Nah, you're smoking that shit, man. Go throw that shit in the toilet." I was like, "Bro, I'm not smoking this. Like, I'm selling it. Like, this is a business." He was like, "Man, go throw that shit in the toilet." So like a good little brother does, I went and got the bag and I threw it in the toilet. The very next day, I went and got another 1/4 pound. And so I was doing the same thing again, and he saw the weed again, and he was like, "What are you doing?" I was like, "Listen, bro, you're able to make $80 per ounce on the stuff, and we get the stuff for 120 bucks for 4 ounces. Like, it's simple math, right?" And when he saw me do it a couple times, he was like, "Wait a minute, how do you get more of that?" Right? And so that was the beginning of where my music career and my marijuana career were all kind of commingling together. My first experience, I went and did an audition for Rap A Lot. And how that happened was I was playing basketball at this neighborhood gym. There was a guy playing basketball and I was just making up these riddles and these rhymes. And this guy approaches me and he says, "Hey man, you ever rapped before?" And I'm like 17, 18 years old, right? I'm like, "No, I ain't never rapped before." He's like, "You ever been to a studio?" And I was like, "Studio? We don't live in Hollywood. Like, what are you talking about?" And I was like, "I can take you to a studio. Would you be interested in going?" And I'm thinking the guy's like totally like full of shit, right? He ends up taking me to a studio, and it was a studio where UGK recorded Pocket Full of Stones. And if you know UGK, like I know UGK, UGK was my Run DMC. I immediately loved the studio environment. I just fell in love with it instantly. And plus, it produced one of my favorite groups. This was amazing. I tell Bernard about this audition that I have for Rap A Lot, and he's like, "Yeah, whatever, you're not auditioning for Rap A Lot." Like Scarface and those guys, like that label. I'm like, "Yeah, the guy knows the father of Jay Prince, right?" We went to this audition and we didn't even take it seriously. Smoking the whole time, sipping lean, barred out, instead of like honing your craft. So we get there, and before we even get in the building of the compound, the guy's like, "All right, let me hear what you got," right? We're so bad that myself and my friends, the guy just looks at us and was like, "This is what you brought up here?" Like, bro, I'm not walking that in the office. We didn't even get past the door, right? We got to the compound, but we never made it into the meeting, right? They saw how bad we were and they were like, "Nah, this ain't happening," right? Go home and I'm all deflated, and my brother tells me, "Wait a minute, you really went to Rap A Lot?" "Yeah, the compound, the guy knows Jay Prince's father. There's some type of connection there." My brother was like, "Well, look, if anybody's gonna steal your money, it's gonna be me." So my brother, he became my manager and my babysitter, and that's where the fun starts to begin. And so my brother, he was a very studious person, super intelligent, had a great job at the bank. I mean, you could even say he was the bank manager at his young age because he really ran that thing. It was incredible. So my brother, every day when he'd get off work, he would go to this thing called a bookstore. I know there's not very many out there now, but he went to a bookstore like Amazon and Borders Books, and he would find books on the music business because there wasn't no internet like there is today. And he would do all this reading and all this education about what the music business was and what contracts were and what the language is. And he had it down pat. After about a year and a half of studying, he had the music business down. He knew everything what not to do and everything what to do, right? And every time he'd go to the bookstore, he would get a soda or a drink from the little counter, and he would go read his book. And when the store closed, he'd put a napkin in his book and go put the book back on the shelf, kind of like a library, but not, right? Because my brother wasn't going to buy all these books, but he was damn nearly going to read every one of them. So you got to read the books in the store or audition them in the store. But my brother was so smart that he would just get the book, go sit down at the little cafe and read the book while I was there. And then when he's done, he'd just put the book back up. So my brother had learned everything about the music business. And while he was learning everything about the music business, I was working on my craft. I was learning how to rap. I found 2 other guys that wanted to start a group with me. And that's when we started a group called Thugs of Another Kind. And Thugs of Another Kind was like, think about like an NWA, but with white guys that weren't really that hard or that cool. What we did on the album cover, we put 3 black guys on the front of the album cover who were kind of older. So when you saw Thugs of Another Kind, you were like, these 3 old black guys are rapping? But on the back, it was 3 white guys in the barber chair, and it was us rapping. From that experience, my brother, he had put up all the money, and we were able to sell enough CDs out of the trunk of the car and tapes that he was able to recoup his money. And in the music business, when you're independent, that's a win. We had something going, but my brother, he didn't want to babysit 3 guys. He just wanted to mess with me. 3 headaches? No. 1 headache? Maybe. My brother told me, I was like, hey, listen, we'll do 1 more record, but I'm only going to do it with you. And if you take this seriously, I'll do everything I can and put every dollar I have into it behind you. And that's exactly what he did. He went and maxed out his credit cards for me. He bought all the studio equipment, and we went over to my producer's house. His name was Grizz. Shout out Derek Grizz Edwards. And we had the mixing console in the garage and the vocal booth in the closet. We started working on tracks, working on music, get about 10 songs done. My brother's like, we don't have a hit yet. You need a dance record. My brother sends me to the studio that day to come up with a dance record, and I come up with this slow, melodic, the dirty South is what it's about, pouring up, smoking out, keeping it hot like the middle of June. I'm just a Texas tycoon making country rap tunes, and the rest is history, as they say. I recorded the song. I wanted to get UGK on the song. At the time, UGK had just did Big Pimpin'. Big Pimpin' was a huge hit. Now you're asking, well, how did Toe Down go from that to getting UGK on the song? Well, let me just back up a little bit. Remember that marijuana thing I was talking about? Well, yeah. So I had a buddy who knew how to grow indoor marijuana. And indoor marijuana was like the best thing ever. It was bright green. You could see it a mile away, and not everybody had it. But I could get it. And so when I had it, I would use it to my advantage. Whatever music festival I was at, well, to get backstage, I got the good, well, let him back here. I would meet different artists, and pretty soon I was hanging out with DJ Screw and the Screwed Up Click and Big Hawk and Big Pokey and all these guys I'm hanging out with, and I'm seeing them get record deals. Since they're my friends, I'm like, yo, will you hop on a track? And I'm like, sure, Toe, you got something to fire up? And we would fire it up, they would rap, I'd be happy, right? Sack for a track. It was the greatest thing ever. They were my friends, and I saw everything that they were doing, and I wanted to do like they did. They were selling 100,000 units out of the trunk of their car. They had money from being independent. They were getting offered $300,000 and $400,000 record deals. So my first album, my second album with my brother, my first solo album, I got all these guys featured on my record. So all the local talent that was selling massive amounts of records were on my record. Everybody from South Park Mexican, Lil Flip, Big Hawk, Big Pokey, DJ Screw, C-Note of the Botany Boys, 3-2, all the legends were on this one record. As a matter of fact, I'm gonna take it to this is right here. So check it out. South Park Mexican, Hawk, Big Pokey, Lil Flip, Slim Thug, C-Note of the Botany Boys, Booney Loke, Troublemaker, Mr. 3-2, and DJ Screw. Know what I'm saying? It's going down. I had met all these guys, and they were basically my friends, and I saw all of them getting record deals, and that's what I wanted. I wanted a record deal. What did I do? I put all the guys that were selling music on one album. You want more? Stick around. Sinner Sanctified. Favored by faith, saved by God's grace. Kirk out.